This must be the new cleaner they said we'd be using. Better read the label. Forward general purpose cleaner.
Ah, forget it, Carl. Just slap that stuff down. You gotta get done early tonight, remember? Big bowling tournament, and you better not disappoint us.
Oh yeah, I better hurry up.
Carl, you said you'd be careful, so the kids and I wouldn't have to worry about you working with all those chemicals. Remember that OSHA training you told me about? Where's the MSDS sheet? You better read it before you open that stuff.
Be a man, Carl. I mean, the stuff is harmless. They wouldn't let you work with it if it wasn't.
That's not necessarily true, Carl. Sure, thousands of chemicals are harmless, but many of the chemicals you are exposed to during the course of your workday are not. If you don't know how to use them properly, or if you're careless with them, you may be risking serious injury not only to your health and general well-being, but you could be putting fellow workers and building occupants at risk as well.
See? I told you so.
Who are you? Did my supervisor send you?
He's gotta be from OSHA. Let's get out of here.
Relax, Carl. I'm not with OSHA. I'm with SC Johnson, and I'm only here to help. As an employee who is required to work with chemicals, you have certain rights and obligations under OSHA's Hazard Communication Standard, like the right to know what you're working with and how to protect yourself.
Look, all that OSHA stuff is really for my boss. He's the one who has to follow all the rules to be in compliance.
Wrong, Carl. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration issued the OSHA Hazard Communication Standard to protect you, not your boss. It's a how-to book, really, that tells chemical producers what they must do to warn end users, like you, about the dangers of the chemicals you use every day. It also requires that your employer and you, the end users, take the necessary precautions when working with hazardous chemicals or materials.
Carl, please, listen to the man. You don't want to get into trouble, or worse yet, get hurt.
Carl, you've been doing this for 15 years. You're an expert. Come on, you don't need to listen to this. We go for the gold in 4 hours.
You know, I haven't had any problems yet, and I am in kind of a hurry, so well, whoever you are.
No way, Carl. OSHA didn't institute the Hazard Communication Standard for their health. They issued it for yours. So go get the MSDS sheet for that product before you use it.
The MDS what?
The MSDS sheet, Material Safety Data Sheet. You told me about them, Carl.
Look, Carl, just read the label and get on with it.
That's a good start, but you really need to carefully read the MSDS sheet. Open the book, Carl. The OSHA standard requires that the manufacturer, in this case SC Johnson, prepare material safety data sheets for every hazardous chemical they produce and provide those sheets to your employer. The MSDS is a primary key to compliance with the OSHA Hazard Communication Standard. It must contain very specific information regarding any hazardous chemical that each product contains. It gives you a lot of safety information that won't fit on the label.
But if your boss didn't send it to you, it must not be very important. Come on.
Your boss doesn't have to give you copies of every sheet. The standard states that, among other things, he must make all of those sheets available to you. That's one of your rights. But you have to go get them and read them to protect yourself. You do know where they are, don't you, Carl?
Well, yeah. They're in that room. Over here.
Tick-tock, Carl.
Be quiet, Bud.
I think you two should go now.
Okay. Here's the sheets for GP Forward.
This is an SC Johnson MSDS. Those from other manufacturers may differ slightly, but all MSDSs must present specific product data in each of the first 10 sections. Sections 11 and 12 of SC Johnson's provides additional information.
Gee, sure is a lot of stuff in here. How do I know where to find the information that I need?
Well, let's go through each section. Start at the top. The header contains the manufacturer's name and address. Hazardous Materials Identification System ratings, or HMIS ratings, are also listed.
Explain this HMIS stuff. It just looks like a bunch of numbers to me.
Well, the HMIS rating indicates the degree of hazard associated with the product in 3 areas: health, flammability, and reactivity. Each area is rated on a scale from 0 to 4, with 0 being no hazard and 4 indicating severe hazard.
So, for GP Forward, the header lists SC Johnson Wax as a manufacturer. The HMIS rating for health is 2, meaning that there is a moderate health hazard associated with the use of GP Forward. The flammability is 0, so I don't have to worry about that. And reactivity is also rated at 0, meaning that I really don't have to worry about this product coming in contact with other stuff.
That's right. Now, Section 1 identifies the material, gives the chemical name, trade name, and any other common name by which it is known. The date on which the MSDS was issued is shown, along with the name of the responsible person at the manufacturer.
So this is who I call if I have any questions or need further information.
Right. Okay. Under that, Section 2 identifies all hazardous and many non-hazardous ingredients and indicates their percentage ranges by weight. But here's the part of Section 2 you'll want to know about. It shows the maximum allowable employee exposure limits for the hazardous ingredients. These limits are generally expressed in terms of how much airborne chemical a worker may be exposed to daily without adverse effects.
So when you're using GP Forward, while you shouldn't inhale deeply straight from the bucket, there really is no danger in breathing the general vapors.
Hey, the man can read, Janice.
Who asked you?
So what's the rest of this stuff in Section 2?
Information on other state regulations regarding the use of this product. Section 3 lists the physical properties and characteristics of the product, its boiling point, appearance, whether or not it has a noticeable odor, things like that.
So you'll know what to expect. Very helpful.
Like he cares if it's clear or pink.
No, Bud, she's right. It's good to know what to expect before you open the package. Let's go on. Do you two mind?
Section 4 provides information about flammability, fire, and explosion risks and suggests extinguishing methods.
So for GP Forward, then, there's really no flammability risk. But if a fire should break out, I should use a regular fire extinguisher.
Another good reason you don't smoke.
Section 5 expands on the health hazard information summarized on product labels. It provides warnings about the personal hazards of exposure to the material and suggests first aid treatment in case of overexposure.
So this is an important section for me. With GP Forward, if I was to get it in my eyes, I would immediately flush my eyes with water for 15 minutes.
That's right. Now can you see why you should read the MSDS for every product you use?
You bet. What else is in these things?
Section 6 describes how the product reacts if it comes into contact with other materials. This section also details storage considerations and what decomposition products may be released in case the product is exposed to fire.
Look, Carl, you're not a chemist. It's not like you're going to be mixing up your own concoctions. Move on! The bowling alley is calling for ya!
Section 7 covers the environmental impact of spills and the methods that should be used to clean them up. It also covers disposal of the product. And since state and local regulations may apply, you'll need to incorporate their requirements into your procedures as well.
But because GP Forward is a water-based product, there won't be any serious environmental effects, as long as I remember to soak the stuff up with oil dry and rinse the area down real good with water.
Section 8 is another very important one for you. It lists the protective equipment needed to work safely with the material: ventilation, respiratory protection, eye protection, gloves, and other personal protection items may be recommended there.
When diluting GP Forward, you need only wear goggles and rubber gloves.
These are just suggestions, Janice. Just suggestions. It's hard to see with those goggles on, you know.
That's it. I'm getting a little tired of you.
Serves him right. You know, I never did like your bowling buddies. I think you should come home
How about
after work.
her?
You know, I never did like your...
Sorry, honey, but I'm trying to concentrate here. Please, go on.
Section 9 consists of 2 parts. The first part usually repeats the cautionary, warning, and danger statements made on the product label. These statements may be paraphrased if the actual label language is lengthy. The second part makes recommendations for handling and storage.
So the first part will be reiteration if I've already read the label. The second part, for GP Forward, suggests that it be kept from freezing, out of the reach of children, and says I should wash my hands after handling this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Section 10 gives explanatory notes too lengthy for inclusion elsewhere.
It's blank on this one.
Some products you use will have information here, so don't just assume that it's not important. Section 11 contains Department of Transportation shipping information, including DOT class, DOT and/or UN number, a proper shipping name, and special shipping notes.
Well, this information is really more for our supplier, right? I mean, I don't ship this stuff anywhere. I just use it.
Right. But you can never have enough information.
Section 12 contains explanations as to why the materials listed in Section 2, ingredient information, are regulated under other federal or state regulations not specifically required by OSHA's Hazard Communication Standard.
So some states are just more strict than others?
Well, kind of. For instance, some states have right-to-know requirements that go beyond the OSHA standard. New Jersey, Massachusetts, and Pennsylvania have generated their own hazardous substances lists. SARA requires the identification of some specific substances for community right-to-know reporting requirements.
This is great stuff. I'm glad I took the time to go over it with you.
One last note. Keep in mind that regulations affecting MSDS information continue to be developed. Many government agencies, both state and federal, in addition to OSHA, have already implemented or may propose regulations that add to the amount and type of information contained in an MSDS. These requirements could add or expand information on such topics as emergency response, transportation identifiers, environmental risks, export handling, as well as many others. The MSDS we just went through may not reflect all of the most recent regulatory developments.
You know, there sure is a lot of information on these sheets, but now I can see that all of it's important.
These sheets are prepared for every single product you use, so that you can fully understand what you're working with, and therefore take all necessary precautions to ensure your and your coworkers' continued good health and safety.
Well, I sure do appreciate it, but I do have a floor to clean and a bowling tournament to get to.
Carl! Hey! What about the trophy, you nitwit?
Oh yeah, I almost forgot. You better let him go now.
I don't believe that, Holy Spirit.
Oh, would you...
That was the most embarrassing thing of my life.
You complain more than any man I've ever
Give
met in
me
my
a
entire
break.
life.
I wouldn't have been in that fix if it wasn't for you.
I would be insane.
Now, before you begin, what are you going to do?
Read the label.
Pour the stuff.
Read the label.
As you can see from the GP Forward label, SC Johnson is in full compliance with requirements for precautionary statements on all of our product labels.
Oh, Carl, look! A caution statement.
Big deal. Hey, this one says danger.
Do you know the difference between the three precautionary statements? When you are working with a hazardous chemical as defined by the OSHA standard, you will find any of three precautionary statements on the product label. From least to most hazardous, they reach three levels. Caution being the least hazardous, warning, or danger being the most hazardous. Just keep in mind that by following all of the correct procedures, even products marked danger can be used very safely. Always check the label on any product you use, not only for safety information, but also for mixing instructions and general handling suggestions.
Now, hold up. So Carl here has to learn about all this safety stuff on his own? Hey, doesn't his boss have to do anything?
Weren't you listening, Bud? His boss has to make sure Carl can get at all those MSDS sheets.
What, that's it? That's all he's got to do?
It's a little more involved than that. Look over there, and I'll outline it for you. Carl, your employer has other responsibilities that he needs to fulfill on your behalf, and you and all of your coworkers should know what he has to do so that you know your rights. The MSDS file, which must contain an MSDS sheet for every chemical product you use, must be readily available to you and your coworkers so that you can locate the document for any product you use should a question arise.
Your employer must also verify that all products used in your workplace are labeled correctly and that the labels are readable so that you know exactly what you are working with at any given time. But if you transfer materials to a portable container, it is your responsibility to label it with the product name and any precautionary statements that appear on the original label.
So you mean I gotta label this bucket?
No, transferring label information only applies to materials that will not be used up by the end of your workday.
So, if you fill up a spray bottle with glass cleaner and you don't use it all, you have to label it so the next person who picks it up will know what it is.
That's right.
Oh, I do that anyway. Jimmy comes on after me, and he's a real stickler about the closet.
Third, your employer must also prepare a written hazard communication program for you. This written program, which must be made available to you or any other employee on demand, will provide the basis for the training requirement of the OSHA standard. It will reiterate approved work practices and precautions, like emergency procedures, including evacuation plans and the use of protective clothing, equipment, and systems.
Oh, great. Like he's got time to sit and read that, baby. It's gotta be 6 inches thick.
He didn't have to read it, Bud. You have training classes, don't you, Carl?
Formal training sessions for you, your coworkers, and new employees are required, and periodic reviews or retraining sessions must be provided to maintain an effective training level.
Enough already. This is all real dandy, but the pins are ready to fall, Carl.
Oh, you're right. And I am running a little bit late.
Oh, one last thing, Carl. At SC Johnson, we truly believe in the workers' rights to know. That's why I'm here, Carl, and why SC Johnson has prepared these training materials. We're all in this together, and while our responsibilities are different, our end goal is the same: to assure that all SC Johnson products deliver results in a safe and health-conscious way. That's why we also maintain a 24-hour hotline telephone which any user can call to get medical, environmental, or other risk control information directly from experts whose job it is to respond quickly and appropriately, even in the most difficult situations.
Well, it's good to know I'm not in this alone.
Between SC Johnson, your employer, and you, we can assure that all of us work comfortably and safely, knowing that you and each and every one of your coworkers have all of the information you need to protect yourselves from illness or injury due to hazardous chemicals in the workplace. Well, I have to go. Paul in the building next door, he has a softball game tonight, and there's some jerk trying to talk him into cutting safety corners.
Hey, I resent that.
Well, you deserved it.
Oh, come on. What do you mean? He'd have been done by now if you hadn't butted in.
Well, it's my job to look out for him.
I don't care. Listen,
Would you do me a favor?
Give me a break, huh?
He married me.
Yeah, well, he
You
bowls with me. Oh, my.
Take them with you so I can get some work done around here. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Time to get to work.